welcome to Select Arcane. It's the new year, and the thing on everyone's mind is NaMoPaiMo. And if you don't know what NaMoPaiMo is, it's a monthly challenge, specifically in the month of February, to paint one horse for the month. It can be any size, it can be any breed, any color, any type, so long as it's a horse and so long as you finish. The entire point of NaMoPaiMo is to challenge yourself and to learn and grow. The crazy thing is that this is international. People from around the world participate in NaMoPaiMo every single year, and the numbers just keep growing. If you want to participate, or if you think you want to learn more, here, check out the Braimir blog and the NaMoPaiMo website. It kind of gives everything. The Facebook community, where it sort of started, I mean the Braimir blog is its true home, but the Facebook group is where you can get any information, ask any questions you want, learn about painting techniques. It's kind of the place to go. So I'm going to leave all the links below. There have been 6 iterations of NaMoPaiMo, and I have participated in the last 5. In 2017, I painted Tomato Soup, a customized bouncer briar in oils and acrylics. In 2018, I tried my hand at painting my first micro, Knickers, done completely 100% in oils on my first pewter resin. In 2019, I painted a Sandman resin by Horsin' Around. I named her Taiga, and that was my first attempt at pigments. In 2020, I tried my first ever Appaloosa, Takoyaki, done completely in mixed media. In 2021, I did mixed media again with Stormvik. This time he was larger and a little bit more challenging for me. Every year I try to choose something that would challenge me as an artist, and every year I can assure you I was challenged. So who will be my victim for 2022, you might be wondering? Well, here, I have a full slideshow to show you to explain. This is Fuji. She's part of my 2021 foal crop, and like Taiga, I bred her myself. She's a registered thoroughbred foal who will be going to the races at some point in her lifetime, hopefully. And ever since she was a foal, people have called her Black Beauty. The reality is, she's actually a baby gray. If you watched one of my previous videos about my stag unboxing, then you would probably start realizing which model I'm painting. I'm going to be painting one of Kylie Parks's micro pop. They're the little tiny Tucker medallions. Well, not quite a medallion. I'm not sure what to call them, but they count in this case, I'm sure. If you remember, I have 2, so I think in this case I'm going to go with the green, just because it's really pretty. So, green poppy it is. And though I could just paint one model for NaMoPaiMo, like you're supposed to officially, you're of course allowed to paint multiple extras for the I Did It 2 album. Don't know what that is? The I Did It 2 album is the extras that painted throughout the month, not official horses. Now enough chit chat, let's get started. NaMoPaiMo officially begins February 1st. It runs for the entire month of February. But the most important thing of any successful NaMoPaiMo is the prep work. Veterans of this activity know that we start in January. Got my official picture taken for the album, and here I am getting Poppy to work. She's actually very clean, and I'm kind of suspicious because there's definitely something hiding. So instead of just going ahead and sanding, I'm going to wash her and prime her. As always, I start with an anti-grease dish soap. Here I'm just using Sunlight because it's what I have, but anything will work. And I leave her overnight on a paper towel to dry. And like always, I'm using Duplicolor Sandable Primer. It just so happens that I have gray lying around, so that's what I'm going to use. Okay, so here I'm going to take a pause, because I've gone over this many times on my own previous blog, The Full Watch. And I've already posted like little tidbits of what I have on that blog, but I've kind of stopped posting because only 5 people read it. So, priming. Many people will give you their opinions on what they prefer, but it all comes down to humidity. If you live in a dry place, like southwestern US, something like Krylon or Rust-Oleum will work wonders for you. But if you live northeast where I am, then you're going to run into a humidity problem. That's why I use Duplicolor. If you use Krylon in my area, it will destroy your model in seconds. And it will not have longevity even if it does survive the painting process. So, consider your humidity when using a primer. That is all. Okay, back to it. It is absolutely freezing outside. It's minus 15 Celsius and extremely humid at 81% still. That means if I spray Poppy and leave her outside to dry and cure, she won't. She'll just stay cold and wet and it will never work. So I quickly spray her out the door and run her back inside to put her on my drying shelf, which is really just a shelf that I have above my desk with a door. It just keeps the fumes in. And after multiple coats later, here she is, all primed in gray. And you can see the little ring around her. That's just because she was a little bit oversprayed, but it's okay. And what is this? Some primer did not set. And that could either be from overspray or because I touched her with my fingers, as you see here. But no fear, we can fix this. It's okay. Assuming that it's mold release or it's just oil from my fingers, either one is fine. I just take my file, which is a diamond coated file I got off Amazon, and I lightly scrape away the area. It feels oily and a little bit wet, so I'm kind of betting it's mold release. I just lightly file, and anything that I didn't get off with my file, I use my sanding sponge. Nice and smooth, everything's good to go. And she looks good. I'm not going to reprime this area in Duplicolor because I have other plans. Alright, she's ready for NaMoPaiMo. Starting 6 days late due to personal reasons, and for some reason February always seems to be that month where things go wrong, doesn't it? I begin putting down my base layer of oils onto my little poppy resin. Here I'm very, very thinly applying burnt umber across her, and looking at her reference, I kind of see that she has maybe some raw umber tones. Her coat seems a bit green in some places near her flanks, so I'm adding raw umber to her flank area and burnt umber everywhere else. I mix up some white and yellow ochre and some oil to create a nice little tan, and I gently put that over the bear. Because the paint is runnier because of the extra oil, I dab it away with a soft brush. It doesn't seem like much, but this base coat goes a long way later on. She's going to need a few days on the drying rack, but in the meantime I'll prep a few other horses who need their base coats, and see you in a few days. It didn't take her this long to dry. I was actually just busy with work, but we're back to it. Oil paints tend to dry a little bit darker than after you apply them. So when I look at her, she's actually a different color than when I originally painted her. And with that knowledge, I knew that because I wanted a baby gray black, I really needed her to be a dark color. The burnt umber and the raw umber did dry darker, as I just mentioned, so now I'm going in with Payne's gray, burnt umber, black, and I'm trying to start shading out the areas that are a little bit darker. When Fuji was born, her legs were virtually pitch black, and so was her face, so I'm trying to emulate that by going darker in those areas, but leaving her flank area lighter. For my third layer, I'm doing virtually the same as my second. I'm using Payne's Gray, Black, and Burnt Umber again to build up the shading and the opacity on Fuji's coat. You're starting to see a lot of variation now, a lot of dark spots, a lot of lighter spots, and you can still see that base coat poking through. That bear needed a third base coat, so that's what I worked on this time. And it doesn't matter that I've kind of oversprayed the edges where the paint runs off of the bear and Fuji onto the base, because we're going to be doing something really special later. And I should probably have mentioned at the beginning that it's really important to paint in really thin layers, otherwise it will take weeks to dry. This is no joke. Check out this crazy coverage. We're on layer 4 and already Fuji's virtually done. But don't worry, there's still so much to do. I mentioned before that Fuji was born with virtually black legs, so we're going to actually darken up her legs and tuck in a bit of black in a few areas, and I'm just using straight up ivory black for that. Using a soft brush, I just rub that in. And then we're actually going to focus more on the bear this time because I'm using a mix of yellow ochre and burnt umber, mixing that together and very lightly going through the creases of the bear. I want to highlight the shadows of the bear because I want it to look more 3D. Using a soft brush, I blend that out, and I'm using a little bit of straight yellow ochre just to highlight the little areas that I kind of blended a little too much. Oh, I'm so excited. We're on to the final stretch. Speaking of the final stretch, I drove 2 hours to Sunward Hobbies, my absolute favorite hobby store, and picked up some really, really cool stuff for her base. Luckily, I snuck in just before they closed. The next day, we were hit with one of the worst snowstorms that we've ever had here. It was very reminiscent of NaMoPaiMo 2019, where my friend Erica came to stay over. We were snowed into my place for 4 days, unable to leave, my county shut down, and roads completely inaccessible. And it looks like the same thing here. Poor Fuji looks like she got sprayed with white primer instead of sealant. To be fair, I am still letting my oils dry, so it's not too much of a problem, but it will be if this keeps up when I do have to spray my sealant. After what I can only describe as the worst snowstorm I've ever had, I was finally able to spray my pony a few days later. Moving over to the acrylics, I always spray between mediums, so I previously did oils and now I'm moving over to acrylics. If you want to learn more about the white markings and the color mix I use and the consistency, check out my rerun video that I posted a few weeks ago. It highlights all of that. So using a nail art brush that I got off of Amazon, which I think is the best tool I have in my repertoire, I very, very gently dabbed on the white markings of Fuji, which really is only like this little square star on her forehead, but I struggled a little bit how to use a large nail art brush. Didn't really like the way it turned out, but anyways, I'll fix that later. I also touched up any areas that needed it with the acrylics and also started painting the base. So the reason I'm painting the base is because the next step I'm going to do requires to hide a little bit of cosmetic flaws. So I specifically painted brown on the base like dirt, and I also decided to do the sides and the back as well just to give it a cleaner edge. I chose green because it would go with the palette. I really wanted to do this next part yesterday, but, you know, things don't always go according to plan, especially when construction happens on your house. So here we are. I'm using Prismacolor pencils to add in the lifelike details. I'm using brown, white, and black to just go over little tiny lines on Fuji's hooves and to kind of blur the little star I made for her on her face. Her hooves are so small, it's impossible to sharpen the pencils enough to get the lines. I try to give her the white line around her cornet band and give her the lifelike lines on her hooves. I also touched up any details I missed with the acrylics. I should mention I also sprayed right before I did the pencils and right after I finished the pencils to make sure that there was a good coat of sealant between. Remember to always seal between mediums, so going from acrylics to pencils, and make sure to seal. Just another quick pause. I just want to point out that I have all of the sealant information also on my blog, The Full Watch. Here I'm using Dullcote because that's what works in my area and my humidity, but something might work better for you in your area with your humidity. Okay, going back to it. This is it. I keep saying we're in the home stretch, but no, I mean it. This is actually it. I got this really neat device called a Static King from Sunward Hobbies when I went last time, and it was on sale because the box was damaged, so I was absolutely thrilled about that. This is the device that makes the grass staticky so that when you shake it, it stands upright on your model. I think. I guess. I don't know. Anyways, it's really cool, and after fiddling around with it and reading piles upon piles upon piles of instructions, because this thing is extremely complicated and it keeps threatening to kill you, I got it working. I had to run out and get batteries, but I got it working. Following the instructions, I filled the grass into the hopper, turned it on, make sure it was grounded on the table with the clamp wire, and I began to shake. Of course, I'm doing a test strip here, so you see that I'm doing it on a piece of paper because there is no way I'm going to wreck Fuji this far along. And I saw some promise, there were some hiccups, I shook it around a bit more, I made sure that the hopper was filled more, and I made sure that I put more glue down because it looks like in the instructions that you need more glue than you kind of need, so I did that. And success! First, I'm adding some purple flowers from Gamer's Grass. This little pack has 4 colors in it, but I really think the purple is kind of the most subtle and would kind of fit more with her. They have a ton of different colors, so I just went with purple. Using the glue, I just used my tweezers to stick the grass directly on top. Using one of my larger nail art brushes, I dropped some glue around her and I tried to make it so that it wasn't actually touching her because I didn't want to spoil her paint job. It kind of looks like the grass is lying flat. I can't really tell at this angle, but I'll keep trying and I'll keep shaking it. Yep, okay, we have success. We have success. And now it looks like her mom just buried her in hay. Oops. Well, at least she's cozy. And it's official, Fuji is done. I can't take any new pictures of her and do the official photo shoot until 24 hours after doing the grass because it needs to dry. So let's check back in 24 hours for her official photo shoot and the I Did It NaMoPaiMo 2022. I don't want to get cookie in her butt all the time. She's so black. I can't even see her in the camera. Though Fuji seemed like an easy project, and why would I have done a micro if I had all month? Honestly, I was so busy during the month of February, and I had a lot of personal things going on, so I wasn't able to complete a bigger model, and I'm really glad I did choose a micro this time. Like my 2017 NaMoPaiMo, this was a 100% oils endeavor, with just a little bit of quick fixes with acrylic and pencil. This was also my first time using the grass and the Static King, so I think that was a great success. I did learn a lot, and I can't wait until NaMoPaiMo 2023. Thank you so much for watching and coming along this journey with me. Remember, if you want to participate in NaMoPaiMo 2023, check out the Brainier blog and the NaMoPaiMo Facebook page. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye! There's Erica, out in a blizzard, post-blizzard, taking pictures of her NaMoPaiMo horse. That is dedication.